A Musical Wedding by Ruin Queen of Oblivion, Chapter 1, A Day to Remember. Vinyl Scratch couldn't be happier. It was a few months since Hotzenhu's day when she had proposed to her, and they had been working to get the wedding all ready. After so much preparation, they finally had the wedding date set for a few days. There was one thing Vinyl wasn't sure about. Traditionally, they were to exchange vows, but Vinyl's condition made that hard for her. She and Vinyl were able to communicate without words, but that wasn't the same thing. Ultimately, she was just glad that she had a chance to marry her mare friend. "Vinyl, love, I'm home," the familiar, elegant voice of Octavia said as she trotted into the house. Vinyl smiled and trotted over to her fiancée and nuzzled her gently. "Some pony is happy to see me." Vinyl smiled and nodded as she kissed Octavia on the cheek, and smiled a little at the ring around Octavia's hoof. She had worked hard to make sure that she had gotten enough bits to pay for it by doing those extra gigs. "I love you too, Lionel," Octavia said with a smile and kissed her back. "So the cakes have our cake all ready, and Verity says that she'll have our dresses ready tomorrow. I'm nervous and excited for Friday. What about you?" Vinyl nodded in agreement. Friday was going to be great. All the friends and family had been invited to the wedding. It was going to be the first time Vinyl and Octavia's parents had really met. Vinyl remembered back to when she had first met Octavia's parents on a trip to Canterlot. They were nice enough ponies, but they were a bit unsure about Octavia marrying a pony like Vinyl. It took a lot of convincing on Vinyl's part, but she loved Octavia and wanted to make sure that her future in-laws would approve of her. It took some convincing, but once they realized that all she really wanted to do was make their daughter happy, they came to accept her. Of course, Vinyl's parents absolutely adored Octavia. While Vinyl had been afraid that she would come across as too snobby to her parents, she had done her best to win them over. Octavia's charm and wit, not to mention the fact that she loved Vinyl for who she was, won them over quickly. They both came from musical families, so that certainly helped, even if both of them had different taste in music. It was something they had in common. Ultimately, both sets of parents just wanted their daughters to be happy. "Lyra and Bonbon, of course, are about ready," Octavia said, and Vinyl realized she had been talking. "Twilight wanted to know if she needs to do anything special for the ceremony. What do you think?" Vinyl thought a moment, and then she shook her head, and then placed her hoof on Octavia's chest and smiled. They didn't need to do anything special for this ceremony. Being with Octavia was special enough. "Being with you is special too," Octavia said with a smile, and nuzzled Vinyl gently before smiling. "Come on, let's go get some dinner." Vinyl smiled, and they trotted into the kitchen to get ready to eat. That night, Vinyl lay on the bed next to Octavia and looked up at the ceiling. She never let her condition bother her. It was why she had gotten into music. It was a way for her to express herself. She smiled lightly as she nuzzled Octavia gently. She couldn't believe that after 3 years she was finally about to marry the most amazing pony she had ever met. Octavia was smart, beautiful, charming, and she loved music as much as Vinyl did. She smiled a little as she closed her eyes, wrapping her forelegs around Octavia. She remembered back to the song that Octavia had made for her ode to vinyl, she called it. Is everything okay, love? Octavia asked softly as she stirred awake and moved around to look at her fiancé. Vinyl nodded and gave Octavia a lick on the nose, which got a giggle out of the earth pony. That was one of the things that always could get a giggle out of Octavia, and Vinyl loved hearing her fiancé giggle. I'll take that as a yes, Octavia said with a smile as she nuzzled Vinyl gently. Can't sleep because you're too excited? Vinyl smiled a little at that and nodded, pulling Octavia close to her. She let the warm feeling of Octavia's body relax her and felt her nervousness just melt away. Some pony's eager to get to her wedding night, Octavia said with a giggle as she kissed Vinyl. I'm sure we'll make it a night to remember. Vinyl nodded and stroked Octavia's mane. She was excited more than she was nervous, but that didn't mean she wasn't worried. Tonight was special for her because no matter what, she got to spend it with her future wife. Sleep well, Vinyl, Octavia said as she gave Vinyl one more kiss before drifting off to sleep. Vinyl smiled and fell asleep with Octavia in her forelegs. It was the most amazing feeling that she had ever experienced. Friday finally came. Vinyl was at the altar with Twilight and Lyra, who both gave her a reassuring smile. She was amazed at the job Rarity had done on the dress, having designed it based on her colors, and it complemented them nicely. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath as the music started to play, and Octavia started down the aisle, escorted by an older Earth Pony stallion. She tried not to stare at the sight of Octavia in a dress, and smiled as she came up to the altar and stood across from her. You look beautiful, Octavia said quietly to her, and Vinyl smiled and gave her a nod before Twilight began to speak. One of the greatest things in life is when two ponies find love with another, Twilight said. Today, we are here to bring two such ponies together in the joy of matrimony. Now, I'm... Oh. Now I'm told that both of you have written your own vows. Vinyl nodded and glanced at the translator who was waiting. Octavia was going to go first, then Vinyl, so she took a deep breath and looked Octavia in the eyes, giving her a smile. She was surprised when Octavia actually started to use sign language, since she didn't even know that she had learned it. Ever since I first met Vinyl, she's made every day of my life special, she shined to her. She's sweet, beautiful, a wonderful mare who has captured my heart. I'll never forget the day that we met, or the day that she proposed to me. As we begin our new life together, I will cherish every moment I spend with her. I'll be yours, Vinyl, forever and always. She smiled and took the wedding ring in her hoof and gently slipped it onto Vinyl's horn, causing the DJ to smile as she began to sing. Sign. When I first met Octavia, I knew she was going to be the mare for me, Vinyl signed with a smile. She was beautiful, sweet. She always made me smile and never saw me being a mute as a disability. She loves me no matter what, and I feel the same about her, The rest of my life will be filled with happiness because of her, and I look forward to every moment of it. She finished and took Octavia's hoof as she slipped the ring onto it gently and gave her a smile. With the authority invested in me as Princess of Equestria, I pronounce you wife and wife. You may kiss the bride, Twilight said, and Octavia took Vinyl into her forelegs and gave her a long kiss to the cheer of the crowd. It was the best kiss Vinyl had ever experienced. The two mares broke the kiss after a minute, and they walked down the aisle together, waving to their friends as they did. After the reception, Octavia and Vinyl were on a train heading for Las Pegasus for their honeymoon. They had gotten a private car for just the two of them and were relaxing together. That was a wonderful ceremony, Vinyl, Octavia said with a smile as she nuzzled her wife gently. Vinyl smiled and nuzzled back as she took Octavia's hooves in her own. She patted them lightly and looked at her perplexed. I've been taking lessons since not too long after you proposed. I knew it would mean a lot to you if I could do it, Octavia said with a smile. I love you, Vinyl Scratch, and I'd do anything for you. Vinyl signed her. I love you too, Octavia. Today was the happiest day of my life, Octavia said as she held Vinyl close, sighing happily. I feel like the luckiest man in Equestria. Vinyl smiled and patted her wife's chest before smiling impishly and laying back on the bed, looking at Octavia with a smile. Of course. It is our wedding night after all, Octavia said with a smile as she kissed Vinyl passionately. Now, Miss Vinyl Scratch Melody, let's see what kind of fun we can have together for our first night as a married couple. Vinyl smiled and kissed Octavia again, wrapping her forelegs around Octavia, pulling her in close. It was going to be a night to remember.